everyone, and welcome to Vertical Living. We are in episode 5 today in the process of learning how to rebuild our trust, learning how to walk back into places where we have been hurt or burned in the past, and how to walk into new places in our life to have trust in those moments. And that can be a frightening place, but it can also be the very place where God deepens our faith and takes us to new heights of His glory and joy in Him. We've been looking at Psalm 18. We have the writings of David as he looks back on his life, and he says, here are the things that God did for me, the places that I walked into that were new, where I had been burned in the past, and I had to trust God completely, and He did, and God gave him the strength to do mighty things as a result. So the things that we find in Psalm 18 in the first few verses describe 10 names that David used to describe God, who God had become to him, and out of those we have seen each of the steps that are necessary. So today we come to step 4. We've looked in step 1 about the importance of finding our healing in God for times in the past we've been hurt. Step 2, we talked about pivoting from those things or people or strengths that we've leaned into for trust, and now pivoting and putting our trust in God. Step 3 was to begin to rebuild our mind, to trust God completely for His promises and not lean on our own understanding. Today, step 4 is where you actually begin to take the step into your new place of normal. And as we think about our virus crisis today, many of us are looking ahead, and we're looking into stepping into new normals. I don't know that we'll ever go back to the way life used to be. There's going to be some things that will forever be different about the future, and that's okay. God takes us into new normals, and those are good things. So as we move forward into rooms that we may not have been in before, as we move into spaces where we might have experienced hurt in the past, and we move into spaces where there might be a little bit of uncertainty, we find our strength and trust in God. So here's what David said in verses 1 and 2. I will love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God. And then here are 2 names for today. He says, my strength, in whom I will trust, my shield. These 2 names are important for us as we begin to take steps back into life or into new places, and we have full reliance upon God. Let's look at these words for just a moment. He uses the word strength. He says, my strength. If you look at the Hebrew word for this, you find that it actually is a word to describe a rock. David uses a lot of references to a rock, and this one is unique from some of the others. We've looked at a rock as a mountain. We've looked at a rock as something like something you might hold in your hand. But here, this is a rock that is like a cliff or a precipice or something that you might stand on to look out over a region. It's the same word that was used when it says that God placed Moses on a rock and He allowed His glory to pass by, and God put His hand there over him in that rock, in that place. It's that kind of rock that's referred to here. It's a place that you stand on. It's a place that's secure. It's a place with perspective. And so David says, God is my strength, this place where you have perspective and you see things you've not seen before. You see God's glory in ways you haven't seen before. You see with perspective. You see new things. He said, this is my strength. God was my strength. And so if we're going to walk into new places, we have to see differently. We have to not see what we saw in the past. We have to not see with our own understanding. We have to not see with our fears, but we see with the confidence that God is here and God is there in that new place. God is going to show me His glory. I belong to Him. He will protect me, and this is my strength, that I have protection and I have perspective on the rock. And this rock, David says, is my strength. And here's what he says, in whom I will trust. Now, David had some things he could have trusted in before. He could have trusted in the people that he knew. He could have trusted in his situation, that he had been anointed and appointed king. He could have trusted in some of the strengths that he had and some of the strengths that the people had around him. But he came to a place where most of those things seemed to erode. He remembered his calling, but even early on, he wasn't able to stand in the reality of it because he had to run from Saul. And so his circumstances, the people around him, all gave him reason to mistrust. But he found his complete strength in God, and he says, now in you, God, I trust. I don't trust in my ability to control a situation. I don't trust in my ability to know everything about a situation. I don't trust even in the people around me. I trust in you, God. I look for your word and what you say to me, and this is where my confidence lies. This is a big shift from where we might have been in the past, and this takes us to a new level of faith. God, you are my strength, the one in whom I will trust. But then David also says, you are my shield. This is obviously a military reference here to a shield that a soldier might hold. It was often used to describe the back of an alligator, his very strong and impenetrable skin. And so this shield here is a shield of protection. It's impenetrable by the enemy. And David said, the Lord is that to me. It was the same thing that God said to Abraham when he made a covenant with him. He said, I will be your shield and your exceedingly great reward. This is a term often used by God, and it refers to how he is going to be a protector of those who will trust in him. So as we walk into new places, new normals in our life, as we walk maybe back into some situations where we've been burned in the past and we're a little hesitant, we're a little uncertain, we're having a difficult time trusting, pivot and then make God your place of trust. Don't trust in your circumstances, trust in him. You can then walk into anything that God opens the door for. You can walk back into the room where it happened. You can walk forward with confidence, knowing he is your shield. Now, this does not promise that people will still not say things to us that might hurt or do things to us that might hurt. That's not the promise here. But the promise is that he will be our shield when that happens, that he will be the one to give us strength like the high rock, and he will give us protection like a shield. We will know how to put our trust in him even when others attempt to hurt us and our circumstances fail us. This is the next step in the process. We walk back and we walk out into what's new with faith in God and nothing else. We don't trust what others say. We trust what God says. Let that be your confidence today. Find these two names of God to be your own personal experience. David said, he was my rock and my shield and my strength. Let this be true for you, and you can rebuild your trust.